Do please sit. Some of you may feel that you're past it. We may find out. For others, this may be a touchy question, but I'm going to risk it. Who sent one? Okay, thank you for a couple of hands. If you haven't twigged yet, it's the 14th of February, which is the feast of St. Valentine. Try again. Who sent one? Oh, fair showing, yes. Here it comes even more touchy. Who received one? Oh, I should be looking behind me as well, of course. It's a celebration of romantic love. Well, I didn't look right in front of me, of course, but I assume hands went up at that point. Yes, okay, just checking. A celebration of romantic love, and actually, as I looked round, I think I gathered that age is no barrier to romance. It's very warming. Romantic love, eros, is one of the four loves that C.S. Lewis wrote a book about. The Four Loves is in some ways a book of its time, though there is a big sense in which C.S. Lewis is timeless. Witness, for example, to the popularity of the Narnia films. Lewis looks at romantic love, eros, in a very positive light, and then he also reflects on what he calls affection, another of the four loves. Affection, the Greek word is storge. This is the love, a natural love, by which, for instance, a mother feeds her young. And then Lewis turns to friendship. The Greek word is philia. And he comments, friendship is, in a sense not at all derogatory to it, the least natural of loves. Without eros, none of us would have been begotten. And without affection, none of us would have been reared. But we can live and breed without friendship. We can. Indeed, at the time that he was writing, Lewis would say that friendship was somewhat neglected, perhaps even suspected in a way that it hadn't been in other times and cultures. I wonder if we've seen a resurgence in the longing for the love which is friendship in our own age. Perhaps as a reaction to the sexualization of relationships on the one hand, and to the isolation which so many experience in our society on the other. There's that striking TV advert. It's almost too raw to watch, I think. That striking TV advert with the cancer patient all alone in a bleak and cold wilderness, brought out of it by a friendly nurse, calling him by name, offering words of kindness. Lewis might describe that as companionship, which he sees as within the matrix of friendship, as silver is to gold. But what I want to suggest is that maybe a church ought to be par excellence a place of friendship, a place of befriending, both those who come looking for it, and many do, and those out there who desperately need it. Maybe the chaplain at a hospice has a part in the befriending a hospice offers at a time of serious illness, potentially isolating illness. Perhaps a chaplain has a role in growing the culture in which that love which is friendship, companionship, can flourish to diminish isolation and to cast out fear. The fourth love is charity. Not the best way of translating agape, I think. We usually now translate it as love, pure and simple. You could say gift love, or even sacrifice love, to mark out how it is special and distinct. Gift love, sacrifice love. Even more than friendship, this is not a natural love, because it is a love that doesn't think of itself at all or of its own needs, but of the other. This is the love of God. Lewis writes, of all arguments against love, none makes so strong an appeal to my nature as, careful, this might lead you to suffering. To my nature, my temperament, yes, not to my conscience. When I respond to that appeal, I seem to myself to be 1,000 miles away from Christ. If I am sure of anything, I am sure that his teaching was never meant to confirm my congenital preference for safe investments and limited liabilities. I doubt there is anything in me that pleases him less. Well, Christ's own ministry and mission began with the experience of agape, the love of God. You are my child, my beloved, in whom I am well pleased. Jesus' confidence in that love, his security in that love, is immediately tested. That's what our gospel reading was about. If you are the Son of God, if you think that you are God's beloved, if you think, the tester repeatedly challenges him. The tests are about self-preservation, self-service, self-publication. Jesus passes through the test and, confident in the love of God, lives a life of sacrificial love for others, for strangers, for enemies, for the world. I guess that that's where the ministry and mission of the church, both within the church and in chaplaincy, also begins with the experience of being God's children, loved and delighted in. In fact, I'd go so far as to venture this. We can't actually embark on any ministry and mission, whether in chaplaincy or in church, if we don't have that sense of being loved utterly and completely by God. But that confidence, that security in that astonishing love will be frequently tested. The tests are the same as for Jesus, reflected in the arguments against love that appeal to Lewis's nature and temperament, but not his conscience. The tests are about self-preservation, self-protection, self-service. But if we can pass through the test, we are invited to show the gift love of God to others, to persuade them that they too are beloved children, wanted, valued, cherished, unconditionally, without limit. We are a church, a ministry, which, if it is to be authentic, is about self-giving love. Love which seeks to serve, preserve and protect the other, not itself. I love this quote from David Bentley Hart, who described the impact of the arrival of the Christian way on the pagan world of Rome. He says the old gods did not, and by their nature could not, inspire the building of hospitals and almshouses. He might have added hospices. Or make the feeding the hungry and clothing the naked a path of spiritual enlightenment. Or foster any coherent concept of a dignity intrinsic to every human soul. They could never have taught their human charges to think of charity as the highest of virtues or as the way to union with the divine. Brothers and sisters, a bit more of that gift love, that sacrifice love in our attitudes and in our actions might be our best witness to the God whose name and nature is love. Lent would be a great time to reconnect with the love of God and to ask how we are reflecting it to one another, our community hereabouts, and to the wider world.